Thank you for choosing the Burgerball podcast, hosted by Metstradamus Blog's John Coppinger and Josh Chaplin. Make sure to subscribe to us on iTunes, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter. It is my pleasure to welcome Clutch Baseball's Sean Norberg to the Burgerball podcast. Head on over to clutchmoment.com for more on Clutch Baseball. So Sean, you are the co-founder and community director of Clutch Baseball. Give us a little bit of background into Clutch Baseball. What is it? How did you get involved, and some of the history of the company?
Well, we have a really interesting background. For those that don't know, our game is based off of an older baseball card game that ran from 2000 to 2005, which was MLB Showdown. And that game was produced by the same company that made Magic cards, Pokemon cards. So it had a pretty big following. But unfortunately, it came to an end in 2005 over licensing issues and the fact that the company was making it didn't really see sports as a good genre for them. So we have an interesting background that we've actually been working on this for a few years now. 2017 was the first year that we came to market with Clutch Baseball, but we've really been working on it since, I would say, about 2014. Basically, what I was doing for myself was I was researching, the old MLB Showdown cards myself, because I actually used to play in tournaments. And they used to have what they called super regional tournaments to qualify for an actual national tournament they would hold, which it actually gained a lot of traction in Sports Illustrated for kids. And they would promote, the national champion would win season tickets to their favorite team of choice. So, this sucked me in. I was 10 years old to 15 years old when the game ran, so I was the perfect age for it. I was growing up in New York, growing up when the Yankees were winning, those 5 world championships. So I think that the timing of it just all, really reeled me in as a kid and got me hooked. So what we've been doing, when I was researching the game several years ago, I came across a Reddit post from Michael Bamonte, one of our other co-founders. And this was something he did on his own. He put out a website, and it was somewhat interactive to a point where it was these own cards he created of baseball players, much like our game, with actual pictures, not using their rights, of course. He was kind of just messing around, but he made this interactive page where the lineup was set. There was 2 teams out there. He had his own graphic design, which really brought me in. I thought it was really cool. And the numbers were a little different. He tweaked them to his own. And really what drew me in was his graphic design. And turns out he is an actual graphic designer. And so I shot him a message. And honestly, at this point, I don't even really remember what got it started. But Mike and I started going back and forth about this. And I was like, dude, this could be something. Because this doesn't exist anymore. There's nothing like it. And this, was my favorite game growing up. So we just kind of started going back and forth a little bit to the point where okay, maybe we can do this ourselves and see what kind of, fans attraction we could bring in. So his interactive website didn't actually work ideally like you would think. Like, it had a dice roller on there. You could click on it. For those that don't know, our game is basically a baseball fantasy, a fantasy card game to an extent. You can build your own rosters. You make a 25-man roster, and you play it just like actual baseball. There's a rotation. You set your lineup, 9 innings, 3 outs. And what the gameplay is we use 20 and 24-sided dice, and it is probability, but we also have strategy cards in our game that affect it. But really, the numbers on the cards are based off the player's statistics. So if you have a 300 hitter, the odds on the dice are, I should say on base, not on batting average, but on base percentage. If his on base percentage is 400, there's a 40% chance based off the cards against an average pitcher that he's going to get on base.
It's funny you say MLB Showdown was what you went off of, because we were actually just talking about that game, and Josh played that game a lot, as it turns out. Were there any other? When I heard about this, when I was reading up on it, it seemed a lot like Stratomatic for me, and I'm an older guy, so I go back to Stratomatic. So were there any other games that you kind of brought in some elements of for this game when you were morphing MLB Showdown into Clutch?
That's a very good question, because we get a lot of questions like, well, is it like that? Is it like Stratomatic? Now, our game isn't as crazy engulfed in the deep statistics as some of these other games. It's really a mix of a game that we want a casual gamer to be able to play, someone that casually follows baseball to just jump in and be able to pick up on the rules pretty, fairly easy. But, the use of our strategy cards and what we've done to the game, we've also tried to make it possible that essentially anything can happen in our game that happens in real baseball. Pickoff attempts, run, even triple play.
So it could be like an arcade, like an arcade setting or like a simulation setting. Like it really depends on the user.
It's a mix between simulation and fantasy, because the fantasy aspect, you're creating your own team. As far as the simulation, we're using dice to, you could say, simulate it, but you really affect the game. Like, if you're not just going to send, two people out there and it just be a 50-50 shot who wins, or it's not just going to be whoever has the better team. Like, when I played in tournaments for this, I mean, the same people were winning the tournament. So at some point, it is luck, obviously, with dice being involved, but at some point, the user, the manager, if you will, comes into a play here.
What's the process of going and beginning your clutch deck? Where can you purchase clutch baseball cards? Are there decks? Are there packs? And how do you connect with other clutch users?
Yeah, that's a good question. So what we offer for our game, there are starter sets, and this comes with a 25-man roster. It comes with a smaller strategy deck for you to start with. It comes with dice, and it comes with a game map for you to get started. Now, that's a good way to do it. As for packs, we have booster packs. We have booster boxes that come, with tons of booster packs. We've been selling our full set, which most trading card games don't necessarily sell full sets. It's what we did to start this year. Now, let me rewind you a little bit to where we started this year. Now, I talked about Mike and I talking and meeting on Reddit a few years ago, which is, I always say it's funny because I don't even really use Reddit that much, but that's where I found his post. And in 2015, I would say the winter of 2015, I remember because I got it ordered to my house on Christmas Eve. We had our first demo sets printed. And then this is something, unfortunately, we can't release to the public because we use tons of, images we found all over the internet and stuff, even though they were high quality, like we don't have the rights to them. And this was just something we're just doing in our own time, messing around with. And it went well. We were able to figure out the sound mechanics of our game, the formulas of it, which, I mean, I'm gonna walk you through just basically what an at-bat is like in the game, because I feel like a lot of our fans, have the question, well, we get it, it's a fantasy game, but what do you do in the game?
Right.
So basically, to give a quick summarization of it, when you're using a 20-sided dice, let's say you're pitching and I'm hitting. So let's say, who do you got throwing today? Who do you pick to throw out in the mound?
Kershaw.
Let's go Kershaw. He threw the other night. So you got Clayton Kershaw out there. And I know off the top of my head, Clayton Kershaw's command is a 7. So each pitcher has a command, and each batter has an on-base number. Those are the two focal points of the card right in the middle of it. Biggest number on the card, that's the main thing you're working with. So Clayton Kershaw's a 7. I'm sending up, let's say I'm sending
Correa.
up Harper. Okay, Correa. So I'm sending up Carlos Correa. Got a World Series matchup. Clayton Kershaw's command is a 7. Carlos Correa's on base is a 12. So what the first thing you're going to do is you're pitching. You are rolling the pitch. So you're going to roll your 20-sided dice. What'd you roll?
17.
Okay, 17. So 17 plus 7. You got to be able to count up to at least 20 in this game. So you roll 17 plus 7. You got a 24 right there. My on base is a 14. So you beat me. You gain the advantage. Let's rewind it. Let's say you rolled a 3. So it's 3 plus 7, a 10. That wouldn't beat a 14. That would be my advantage.
Okay.
So what you're trying to do is gain the advantage off the pitch.
Okay.
The next roll, which I'm going to roll that because that's the swing. I'm the batter, so I'm going to roll the swing. Whoever won the advantage, we're going to use their chart. Each player has a chart. So Clayton Kershaw's chart, I believe he, on a 20-sided dice, 1 through 18 will be an out result for him.
Wow.
If I got the advantage, it's all hitter friendly. It's like 1 through 6 is an out, and then 7 through 9 is a walk, 10 plus, and then like 19 plus is a home run.
Okay.
So that's the basic fundamentals of it. There's a pitch. You're trying to determine who gets the advantage, and whoever does, when you roll the swing, you're going to use their chart. That's the basic, most simple part of the game.
Is the goal eventually for you to make this where it becomes big enough so that you do get a licensing deal with baseball and to use images and whatnot. Is that a goal, or are you not even worried about that right now, or even in the future?
Oh, it's impossible to not think about that. I mean, I think that's essentially the goal that we've, really come in thinking about the moment we started thinking about creating this game, And unfortunately, that's a lot of backlash we get from people. We are constantly bombarded with messages daily, every week about, well, what's the point in getting this game? It doesn't even have, the pictures of people, which, isn't even legally possible right now. Topps right now has an exclusive deal on baseball trading cards until 2020. And unfortunately, when we throw out that year, it does throw a lot of people off, or they're like, oh, that's already 2 or 3 years away. But with how much, speed and how far we've come in this year alone, I'll take you back to earlier this year when we were hitting the market for the first time. We did an Indiegogo campaign. And for those that don't know what Indiegogo is, it's very similar to GoFundMe. A lot of people are familiar with GoFundMe as a crowdfunding page. And immediately when I say that, people are like, okay, you want people to give you money so you can start, creating your own game. Indiegogo is not like that. It's basically, we put a product out there, and there was different tiers of it. We said, if you donate $5, you're going to get a booster pack. If you donate $10, $15, we're going to give you, a starter set and a booster pack. If you donate $50, we're going to give you this with the promo card. And you donate $100 to us, we're going to send you the full set with the promo cards. So we did that, and we set our initial goal at $5,000. And honestly, we had no idea what to think about that. I didn't know if we'd get $100. I didn't know if we'd make, $100,000. So we set our goal at $5K, and in a matter of 4.5 weeks, we were able to raise over $17,000.
Wow.
Oh, that's incredible.
Wow.
Yeah, and this is coming from, almost an abstract idea. It's not like we came into this blindsided, let's just figure it as we go along. But it's almost like we've been figuring it as we've been going along, just because of the, the traction that we've been building up. So, I already told you when I went on Reddit and met Mike a few years ago, this is where it started. And with Mike, he's actually been doing graphic design and creating his own cards since he's been back in high school with his friend Jordan. And Jordan is one of our other co-founders. It's the three of us. So if you're already a fan of Clutch Baseball, you're probably familiar with the names. Jordan writes a lot of our articles. He essentially runs and is the administrator on our forums online. We actually have a Clutch Baseball community on our website. You can go to our forums, and it'll answer plenty of questions about, different scenarios about the game, what you can do, questions you have about it, roster building, anything going on in baseball. So this has really been picking up over the last year, and we're very happy with how far we've come so far. I'm curious though.
Do you feel a lot of your fans that have put in bids and have given you some cash on the Indiegogo, and a lot of your fans, do you feel that a lot of them come from that the old MLB Showdown days? Do they mention that?
You know what? That's one of the first places we obviously looked, and we have gotten some good support with it. I know there's a few people I used to play in tournaments with when I was younger, and they've been very supportive, and they've been doing their best to spread the word of it. But there's only so much a few people can do. And honestly, there's a few MLB Showdown fan pages on Facebook, and they have a few hundred people in them. And this is just coming from me. This is not to knock some of them. Some of them have been very supportive of us. But then again, there are a lot of traditionalists that are like, well, I'm not going to be interested in the game until there's pictures, or they really like the game for the collecting aspect of it. So that's something we've been trying to balance this year as well, as trying to make it fun to collect as well as, just playing the game. Because we know, it's a hurdle. We know it's a hurdle when we don't have the pictures on the cards. So we've done our best with promo cards this year, like for the Indiegogo campaign, piggybacking off the Cooperstown election last year. We had Ken Griffey Jr. as one of our promo cards. Kyle Schwarber, because he didn't make it into our base set because he didn't have enough at bats, but he had that big postseason last year, if you guys remember.
Of course.
Right.
We did a fun little strategy card called Ghostbusters, the Cubs winning the championship last year. So that was a fun card for us. And we did a Jose Fernandez card too. obviously, because he wouldn't have been in our base set. But he was in our demo set a few years ago, and he was he was the second highest pitcher to Kershaw, so we definitely wanted to get a card out there for him.
Mm-hmm.
And like you just said before, I think one of you guys mentioned Brandon Webb. Brandon Webb was in our Halloween set that we just came out with this month, which is still available to the 31st if people haven't purchased on there yet. So if you haven't checked out our game yet, our website is www.clutchmoment.com. And that's where you can purchase our product. Like I said, you can go into our forums. You can really dig into, I talked about how an at-bat sequence works. You can check on there as well. But if you're gonna look for us on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook, that is at Clutch Card.
We absolutely love Halloween here on the Burgerball podcast. So could you tell us a little bit more about this Halloween set that you have going?
Oh, yeah, sure. So our Halloween set right now, and, the deals are always changing right now, so I don't want to say something right now and this go on the air in a week and it'd be different. But our Halloween set, we were trying to do our best to, think of something creative. So our Halloween cards are designed like, I wish I could, show you right now. We're talking over here, but they're designed. They got spider webs on them. They've got Halloween themes to them. And we did a Brandon Webb card, of course, like a spider web. And we did a Vladimir Guerrero card, his nickname Vlad the Impaler.
Of course.
So those were our 2 player cards. And then we did a black cat strategy card, which is a pretty cool card. And that was our first holographic strategy card.
That's cool. That is cool. And right now through I'm not sure the end of the year, but all 2017 products are discounted.
Yes. Right now they're currently 17% off for your World Series going on. But we do our best every few weeks to, throw some promotional thing out that's, we try to relate it to what's going on in baseball as well. For example, if you see someone throw a no-hitter or a perfect game next year, there's a good chance the next day you might see 27% off the product.
If someone wants to go play this in person, where can someone connect with other players of Clutch?
That's a good question. And honestly, that's one of our other biggest hurdles we're dealing with right now is because it is a 2-player, game where you're interfacing with them in person playing, that it is difficult for people to play. But I'll say this much. When Mike and I were starting the game, we were playing all of our games over Skype. When we were first playtesting in 2015, we were just going right on there. There are different gaming chat rooms and websites you can go to where there are dice rollers in there for you. So all you need to do is click on it right there, and it's not like the person can cheat on you and lie to you about it.
Yeah, of course.
I'm looking at your Twitter page here, and I see the picture on your heading. And it's got like cards that say defense make some noise, or offense got the yips. They're like the special cards. They almost remind me of Milborn's, the card game, where it's like you can give other people flat tires and whatnot. It's like a driving game that you can give them flat tires. I think that's really cool. Like you could all of a sudden say, okay, your second baseman will hit the stands with every throw he makes from second base. We're going to give him the Steve Sachs card, and he can't throw worth a damn. I think that's really cool.
Well, yeah, you're right. It is true to an extent. Like I said, we've tried to make everything possible in our game, but just to clear things up, it's not. I don't want to say it's arcade-like. Like you're not gonna just play some card. Okay, boom, your guy's gonna make errors. Like it's statistically sound is the terminology I like to use. Like
right.
everything that happens is going off the odds of something. So if someone does have a strategy card where, let's say there was a ground ball, I may be on offense and I may drop a card like one you mentioned, who's got the yips, and it actually makes their player make a defensive play is what we call it in our game, and each player has a fielding rating. So let's say, you got Chase Headley out there and he's got a +3 defense. To make a defensive play, what you have to do is you have to roll the 20-sided dice, and the number on the dice plus your player's defense has got to equal 20 or higher. That's what a defensive play is.
So was the yips based off of Mike Pelfrey? I just feel like that's been in the room the entire time, and I needed to get that out.
I thought that was a card where you lick your fingers.
Is that...
I'm talking to a Yankee fan here, so when I think who's got the yips, my mind immediately goes to Knobloch.
Okay. So, well, that's the Yankee affiliation, I guess. I just can't ever shake the San Francisco Mike Pelfrey yip game. But that's... So are there some cards in here that are specifically targeted at, like, one player or instance that you can actually write about or just, like, specify on a card? but they're kind of tongue-in-cheek, hey, wink, wink, nudge, nudge?
I'm trying to think right off the top of my head what we have in the set now, because we're playtesting our 2018 cards already.
Okay.
And we're always constantly playtesting different ideas we all have, and it's kind of like a committee we kind of bring together between Jordan, Mike, and I, and we kind of just filter in, okay, these ideas might go well for next year, and we're already lining up 2019 ideas too, because we're kind of spreading them out as well. But yes, there are instances in cards that are directly linked to one or two specific plays or players, if you will. And for example, I'll throw something out there that is way ahead of our game that may not even come out till 2019 or 20. Obviously, we've thought about legends, and we've actually had some legend players already. We had legendary Marlins players last year because the All-Star game was in Miami. So with our All-Star set, we had Luis Castillo, Jeff Conine, Dontrell Willis. So we had all these players. So obviously we're doing legendary players, and we're going to expand off that next year, a lot more next year off that. And in these legendary sets brings to the question, legendary strategy cards. Now this is something that's still just in beta and we're talking about and testing. If we're talking about legendary strategy cards, give me a legendary moment in baseball history.
The Buckner play.
Buckner play. Boom, you got one right there. Perfect. So essentially these legendary strategy cards would be based off historic moments, like the Buckner play. So obviously that would relate with the first baseman making an error and other runners advancing around the bases. One I can give out easy for you, especially if we're throwing out something at Shea Stadium. Our game right now, there's a strategy called Highway Robbery, and this gives the center fielder a chance to make a defensive play to try to rob a home run. But currently that card only states center fielder. So, going off Mets history, can you think of any left fielders that made any historic home run robbers?
Oh, there was some guy named Endy, I think.
There you go. Yeah, right there. Endy Chavez. So do you remember what the wall said behind Endy?
It was like AIG something or other. Like I remember it being a perfect slogan, like AIG always protects or something.
It was the AIG, and it says the strength to be there.
Yes, that's it.
Boom, strategy card right there. The strength to be there. Your left fielder or right fielder may make a defensive play and try to rob a home run. So that's an example, or just off of what you were saying right there about moments or players, for example.
That is phenomenal. I'm sorry that's
awesome.
Yeah, that won me over, and if that doesn't win someone over, if nothing else of the game wins anything over, so the majority of our audience is going to be Mets fans, but that's just...
Mike is a Mets fan, so Mike's a Mets fan, I'm a Yankees fan, and Jordan's a Red Sox fan, so we kind of have the whole Northeast covered.
It's a good mix. It's a good mix of Northeast bias. I like it.
And the best part about it is I would say most of our fans are actually in the Arizona area.
How did that happen?
I honestly don't know. It must have been maybe a Showdown following out there, or I don't know what it is, but they have seemed to be our biggest attraction out there, and that's where we've actually gotten into our first few retail stores.
It's time for a Tony Womack historical card, I think.
I was gonna say congratulations on getting into retail and your product and expansion, but considering the Northeast bias, you said something that's a complete contradiction. How can you say Marlins legend? Like they just juxtaposed each other, those words. I don't.
But you know what? It wasn't easy. I mean, when Jeff Conine is Mr. Marlin, I mean, I think that says something about how short the franchise has been around.
My one last question is this: when are we going to see you guys on Shark Tank? When is that coming?
Oh man, yeah, that's been thrown around since before we ever even started the Indiegogo campaign. If you can get on Shark Tank, I will be there. I will be there in suit and tie next day.
Well, good luck with everything, Sean. It was an absolute pleasure to have you on, and thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for coming on.
Oh yeah, I appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoy the game, and I hope you enjoy what we're going to add to it next year, because we already have a few more new ideas up our sleeve.
We all eagerly anticipate that, and to everyone, thank you so much for listening. Head on over to clutchmoment.com to purchase your Clutch baseball cards today.